Out of all the malls in all the world, I've always found that this small one called Easttown Mall is my favorite. There are malls with elaborate theme parks inside, malls with big stores and flashing signs, but this little mall has always struck me as different. It has something that those malls didn't. It wasn't a store, although it had a couple decent ones. It had a nice burger place that I would consider it worth my trip to try once, but probably not a revisit. It had some interesting decorations, but the dusty and faded hanging from the sky didn't capture my imagination quite like what was in the cinema. It wasn't a movie or the cinema itself, but rather the arcade. It looked fairly standard, but if you found the open stairway down to its second floor, it became something quite different. A giant room the size of a Little League soccer field was filled with games and attractions. Skee balls were my personal favorite, though they were standard in any arcade, but they had games that you wouldn't find anywhere else. Old and new, just waiting to be played, had always brought about my inner child. And that wasn't all of it. On one side of the floor, on a wall that was slightly darker than the rest, farthest away from the stairway, there was 2 steps down and an even larger arcade under it. This one always seemed a bit darker than the first one, but just as full of games, though slightly older. For as few people was on the second floor, there was never anyone on this third floor, and it went down further. Unmeasurable amounts of floors stretching out far and wide made Easttown Mall something very unique. With such a special sight, you might like to visit my old mall, though unless you're like me, you'd have trouble getting to it. It's closed these days, but I hear they have plans for it. Perhaps if it reopens, you'll be able to find the infinite arcade and enter with all the whimsy and wonder of yourself as a child.